Good morning, everybody. How are we today? Monday, the 20th of July. Wow, another month nearly over. How are we? Be a fun little quick one today, I think. Let's get some music or some bird song or something. Since we're in a garden, we'll go with bird song again. So you can see I haven't drawn very much. There's not a lot to draw, to be honest. Morning, Sue. Morning, Al. Morning, Sarah. Morning, Nick. I will be on Discord shortly. I just want to wait for a few more of you to join. Seven of you, lovely. Welcome. Lovely to have you with me on this sunny Monday morning. Morning. How loudly do you need me to talk, Louise? Hello, Lainey. Nice to have you with us on a Monday again. Here's my colours. You can see I've got them out. No Damien red, as was posted. I have changed that now. My phone decided to turn cadmium red into Damien red. I don't know anybody called Damien. Never met anyone called Damien. So I don't know why that would be my phone's preference rather than a colour that I use at least 5 times a week. But never mind. Morning, Chris. Morning, Anne. Oh, morning. Morning, Fran. Right, so don't forget this is a demo exactly like it used to be at Great Bolton. So you can either watch now or try to keep up. It's quite fun to try and keep up though. Sometimes it gets your brush strokes into practice, I suppose. Oh, Chris has got those back. Okay. Oh, it was a lovely day. It's a long old drive though, just for a day, but it was really nice. 10 o'clock. I left at 7 in the morning, got back at 10 in the evening, but it wasn't supposed to be as hot as it was. It was only supposed to be about 17 and very cloudy, but there was no clouds in. So I dressed for a mild day. I've got sunburnt arms and a sunburnt neck because it wasn't supposed to be hot, and it's Wales. You don't expect it to be that hot on the Barmouth coast. But it was gorgeous. It was really nice, and obviously my sister, my brother-in-law, and my brother was there, and my niece and her children were there. One of my nieces and children were there, so that was really nice. Although I have to say, I've never seen so many people in Barmouth. Honestly, and hardly any social distancing going on outside. The only place that was really strict was the fish and chip shop. It is. I mean, people weren't even going in single file on the pavements. They were just going in mass crowds, forcing people into the roads. It felt like every man for it. It felt like a normal seaside day rather than coming out of a pandemic. Absolutely. So I was holding my breath at times just to try and avoid people. So, well, they're acting like it's all over. That's for certain. So I mean, we stayed on the beach and we were outside constantly. So I mean, that's the bonus. We didn't step foot. Well, I went into a couple of shops, but I got my mask on, so that was all right. But yeah, interesting. Right. Okay. So let's crack on with this. You see, I did toy with the idea. What's that, sorry? It is. We're going to have to simplify it. That's my job, I suppose. I was going to paint it all black, because that could work, as a black background. But I thought I'll do it in sections, because at least then it's a bit easier. So do you know what? I'm going to go with a little bit of black and a little bit of ultramarine. Normal canvas paper. Oh, it can. I've got here a bit of blue and a bit of black. I'm going to do it in a oomphy way, like is my normal bull in a china shop way. Bit more blue as we get over there. Maybe a little bit of white in there. So that will cover the background. I'll let that dry. Don't mind if it doesn't dry thoroughly. In fact, what I think I'll do is, because I've got the joy of a hairdryer here, is I will... Oh, hang on, I've just got to nip down and let Jackie in. I'll be back in a second. So I've got the black and the blue here. I think what I'm going to do is do a bit of black, brown and cadmium yellow. So I'm just blocking in areas. So it will help me pop the wall in. Because I want to make it easier than it looks. Yeah, both, it's nearly all the colours except I'm not using cerulean today. Or yellow ochre. So I'm going to block all of this in. For those of you painting outside, you'll probably find this dries quickly anyway. And I think I'm going to have black down the bottom left. It's good to do it all in the time limit as well. You can hear I'm really scrubbing it in to try and get it into the fibres. Oh, there's my black there. Bit more blue up this end. So basically this is all going to be sort of a bluey black that gets a bit blacker. So I suppose this is almost like Payne's grey. I've got enough, a bit of water on. Because if it's too watery then it will take longer to dry. So don't be scared by this, this will help us immensely. Well, yeah, I've done it to save, but you can see me doing it, but you can see I've got blue in some area, brown in some, black in others, so I've got sort of an ombre painting. See, that top bit's already dry now, so that's good. And I'll be using my old manky flat brush that's as stiff as a board to do foliage. I think could use a fan brush for some of it, might do. Who knows what'll happen in 45 minutes. Just let it dry enough so I can lean on it. But I did say I could hair dry it, but I don't particularly want to add to any more heat. Nearly went with my elbow. Oh, just advisory warning, anybody coming into Banbury from the Middleton Cheney end, from the other side of the motorway, from Hennef Way, the roundabout at the reservoir, all the way to Spiceball, that road is closed all week. No idea why. So everybody is having to funnel round through to the Southern Road and the Three Pigeons Way if you're trying to park in Banbury. So that's fun. Oh, you know what? I might use the fan brush. I haven't used it for such a long time. I can hear it crying. So let me go in with a bit of lemon and a bit of ultramarine. Load it up fully. Maybe a little bit darker. Darker, add a bit more blue. So you can see I'm pulling my brush out, flipping it over, pulling it out. And then I might add a bit of black in it to start with, just to make it a little bit better, make it a little bit darker. I could double load the fan brush, but I think that's too much for a Monday morning. It is Monday, yeah, it is Monday. I've really been struggling with my sunburn. See, it's the first time I haven't dressed like an Edwardian going on vacation, and I got shorts and a t-shirt on, you see, and that was the problem. I should have just kept in a tweed suit or something. At least I wouldn't have got a tan or a burn. I would have been very hot, that's true, and I wouldn't have been able to climb the rocks like I was. Yeah, it's deceptive. It was so... Well, at first, you see, I didn't know if it was sunburn or... I've just added a bit more yellow. Or if it was sandblasting, because the wind was so strong. And because it was warm, the sand was just melting, you know, drying so quickly. It was a fine sand. And we were all covered, absolutely covered in it. So I thought it could have just been a bit pink because I was sandblasted. But turns out it's sunburn. Yes, thank you. Jackie says I'm somewhere between carmine and processed magenta in my skin tone today. And my arms and ankles are very sore. It's my own fault. It's my own fault. I should have researched it a little bit more. We've always had good weather, always. So I should have really thought of that rather than... I was trying to be practical, because I ended up... Last time I took a blazer and I was in socks, but I ended up having to carry it around for such a long time that my hands were full all the time. So I thought, no, I won't do that this time. I'll be sensible. It goes to show I can't be sensible, but it was nice. It was fun to build sandcastles and then watch them get destroyed within 30 seconds. So this is neat yellow, so I'm just neat lemon. I'm just trying to build a foliage background up. I'll probably put a few tree trunks and things on there. And actually, let's use this for the lawn while it's here. So I want a bit of a stipple. I'm gonna put a path in. There isn't a pathway in this, but I'm gonna do it so it's sort of a dirt windy path thing. It's a good old fan brush. They are all available on Shop Happy, or you can call in. We are getting a few more customers. Don't forget, as of Friday, it's compulsory to wear a mask if you're going into any shop. Not sure why it wasn't made compulsory when they decided to make it compulsory. Why we had to wait 10 days is beyond me, but yeah, well, it's going to be gone by December. That's what it's been told. Right, maybe a little bit more lemon. I do like a bit of lemon. Oh, there's 10 of you. I've just looked. Hello. Unfortunately, I can't tell who you are until you say hello to me. I can only tell you after. Other people can see, except for the person that's actually hosting the thing, which is funny. I just know there's 10, and I'm very grateful for you. Right, so you can see I've added a bit more lemon there and a bit more lemon there because the light's sort of... it is coming, it looks like it's coming from the behind, in front of us, so I'm going to tweak it a little bit. I'm going to have it coming from the light from the left. Maybe I'll add a tiny bit of white to this. It is. I'm trying to look at the shadow on the gate, but it's kind of coming this way. It is, so there must be a lot of sunlight somewhere, so I don't like that, so I'm going to tweak it. And that's what we can do, can't we? We've got the power to tweak. I don't want to go over the top with this, but I'll end up going over the top with this. Okay. I was going to say I might leave this on my fan brush, but I won't because it's really warm even in this classroom, and that's going to go all manky and crispy, and I don't want that. I tell you, the donut ice cream I had yesterday, I had two actually. I had one when I got there and one later on. So it's a donut, and I had strawberry and vanilla ice cream on it, and bubblegum flavoured sauce and a flake. Really nice. And then it was really gorgeous, and it was just £3. So I had one, and then when we did all around the beach and everything, and then they all wanted to go back into town again, so I said, oh, you know what, let's have a cup of tea, and maybe I'll have an ice cream and a bit of donut. So I did. Okay. Switching to a number 6 flat. Well, numbers mean nothing. It's probably 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to do a few bricks. And I'll do me bricks with a bit of burnt sienna, cadmium yellow, bit of white, bit of ultramarine. Oh, I don't like that colour. Bit of red, bit of white. That'll do, because this will be my mid-tone colour. So let me move that out of the way, and I'll paint actual bricks, but leave a bit of a gap. I just can't believe we're hurtling towards August. Scary. This year is just. I say it's flown by, but then when I try and think of last Christmas, that feels like years ago rather than just 7 months ago. I think I need a slightly wetter, soggier brush because I haven't mixed up enough colour. And what will happen? Absolutely, it's a bit of a mix of burnt sienna is your main colour, a bit of cadmium yellow, and a tiny bit of ultramarine and cadmium red. Depends on your burnt sienna colour, I think, and white. But I haven't got too much white on there. I know it looks quite pale on the camera, but basically I want it so I can add a few highlights, but equally so the dark that I put down, the darker brown, shows up. And again, because it's a natural wall, you might find I'm doing lots of little bits. Time is just flying by today. I'm going to hint at the wall behind, because I know this is going to be flowers there, so I'm not going to do too much with that. So if I then add a little bit of white to this, and maybe, I don't know, yeah, no, white will do, just white, maybe a tiny bit of cadmium red. I can look at doing a few highlights. So I said that the light would come from this bit. And maybe a few little hints. And so this is white. Well, it's still on there in the same mix, but there's a bit of white and a tiny bit of cadmium red. As you know, be careful with your cadmium red because it's quite hungry and it'll eat everything in your palette. Just skimming a few little bits over. So I'm trying to build up in the same sense that I don't want to lean on anything that's going to be wet. So that's why I've got this. Then I'll do the gate. Then some shadow. Oh, I need to do the path before I do the gate, don't I? Thanks for reminding me. You're all good at spotting stuff like that. It's amazing, isn't it? Just a bit of white makes all the difference. And having that end paler a lighter, there we know with the lights definitely coming from that section. So I've got lots of foliage to put around here, which is going to be lots of fan brush and blobs because of the time element. I'm trying to think of a nice dirt colour. Maybe a bit of cad yellow and burnt sienna and water. You could make it gravelly, I guess, but I don't think I've got time for gravel. There's a bit of black in here as well. There's a bit of a path going there. I want it to feel more that it's been worn into the grassway rather than... So which way is my gate going to open? Because if it opens that way, it's going to get more footwear here. So this is just a really runny colour. Now, because the light's coming from the left, the lighter side of this is actually going to be on the right, because the way the light will hit, because it'll be slightly more furrowed where it's worn. And again, I don't want to do too much. He says doing too much. But since it's called Country Garden with a Gate, I feel there needs to be a bit of garden and a gate. Otherwise I'm a sham. A little bit of white just to clean my brush actually, because it's very dirty. Oh, lovely. Bit of finger rubbing. Yeah. Then I'll paint the gate. Then I can work with about 10 minutes or so on the flowers. The foreground's going to be where it needs to look amazing. Right, so if I do a brown and black mix for the gate with a thin brush, just to make a dark brown, and I can make a light brown for the highlights, yeah? I'm going to need you to, tomorrow, to double side it onto black card. Double sided tape. You can do it, because I've got to paint the other one tonight, or this afternoon if I can. No.
Like yourself, or
Right, so I'm painting this in a dark brown, which I have made. What I have made myself. Fairly steady hand. And let me paint the zigzag that I've covered over, that I drew. I drew it all up and then I can't even tell where I've stuck it. Oh, I need to have another bit of the gate there, because that's not the... That's the post. It goes that way. Like that. It's all a brush width. It makes life easier. And I'm hoping that I'll leave myself a gap in between each one. And a fairly flat bottom, because I was driving a lot yesterday. So by using the brush to start with, this is just a flat rigger, but it means that you get a rounded end at the top for your little picket fence gate. Look at that, I've almost done it like a real artist. And there'll be highlights on the left hand side. So I'm just adding white, and then I've really got to do that flowers, haven't I? Unless it's an English country garden after a drought. It's all dead. Give it brown. I wouldn't do that to you. So by adding the white to the brown, it gives me a sort of grey colour that means I can know which way. I need to have the thingy, the inside. Highlights are really good. You know, I bang on about shadows, but highlights are just as important, to be honest, because that's what makes things with the shadows look solid. So without them, it's how the Impressionists work, really. You know, you can fudge a lot with your paintings as long as you've got shadows and light. It really is such a difference to your painting if you can manage both of those. Now you don't have to do anything, but I'm just going to stick some hinges on. I can't really see where they are, to be honest, but I know they're there. I could gel pen the highlights on that. Right, so I've got 5 minutes allegedly now to do this. Why do I do this? Why? Just why? Actually, I haven't done any. Let me use some of this stuff. It's brown mix with my brush while I've still got my little thin brush out, just to hint some trees, because that's a bit naff, isn't it? Got all this green. And no foliage. I was just going to look outside then, because I thought, oh gosh, the birds are really loud today. I'd forgotten that I've got it on a tape, and I've turned it up. So I'm getting quite concerned about myself. Oh dear me. Brilliant, okay. So I need to do a bit of stippling and whatnot next. I ought to change the green up a little bit. Maybe I should use card, use the fan, use card, and oh, it's horrible green, isn't it? Card and ultramarine. Just, oh, I don't like that. I'll have to get me lemon out in a minute. Let's have it a bit ultramarine-ish. Oh. Basically ultramarine. You want to leave the darks. I think I'm going to need more lemon. Lemon is the colour of the day. Squeeze a bigger dollop of that out. Because it does make it feel a little bit sunnier. Because I want to add the shadows. It is nearly all lemon yellow and ultramarine, actually, looking at the greens in there. Let's just vary the blues. So I'm just creating some random foliage with the fan brush that means absolutely nothing. But I just want somewhere to stick all of the flowers and things. But the darks are quite important. I'm doing a few like this, and then I'll do a few with my thinner riggery brush. Because obviously I'm confounded to the time restrictions. You're not. Unless you're going anywhere exciting. It's always hard when you're doing stuff for foliage and plants, because you want a decent variety of mixes, but you also want a lot of fluid paint, but fluid paint that has colour. Whereas what will happen often is that you'll get fluid paint, and because you've made it fluid, you lose the colour on it, and that ain't no good for anyone. Use these for some. So basically I'm trying to mix just some random tones of greens and make it so it looks like there's foliage of different types of plants within this mix. And if I do it with either just the fan brush or this this is quite a cool brush. It's not quite a rigger and it's not quite an outliner. It's a bit of everything. This is one of the brushes from those $6.99 J-Car brush sets. They're pretty good because they can take a bit of abuse, but I won't mind so much if I don't look after them very well. So you may have seen my post that I'm thinking of retiring my watercolour brushes after 2 years. And getting some brushes that actually have got a point on them now.
I know an art shop you can get them from.
An art shop. Is it good? I've heard the owner's a bit rubbish.
The staff are excellent then.
Yes. Well, that reminds me, I've got something for you. P45. I'm joking. I'm joking. No, you know I wouldn't sack you for real. I know I threatened to a lot. But actually, by doing quite watery greens, can you see how it's there but not quite there in some places? And I think that works really well because the black or the dark bluey colours really show. Louise, I'm expecting great things from you today because I know this is your kind of thing. So no pressure. Lainey, make sure she's doing it good. Maybe I'll go with a bit of blue in this green now. Ooh, hello, Harry. And then I'll put the flowers on top in the 2 minutes that I have allowed myself. So if I do this bluey green mix, it's slightly darker than the greens that are over in the grassy areas. So that will mean that I can have a bit of sort of overhang. I'll be bathing in after sun after this before my next class. I've got a couple of deliveries to do. So you can see how it's building up the space, isn't it, with the greens, even though it's just varying tones of ultramarine and cad yellow, but you want to leave and keep some of those darks. If I just add a little bit of white to this green, I can add a few little blobby highlights in that little background foliage. And then I can play around adding flowers. Let's do these purple lupins. They are lupins, aren't they? Am I right? They're not foxgloves. In fact, I could almost get away with just the... I'm using carmine, so it's a lot pinkier. So if I don't mix the colours thoroughly, I add a bit of white and a bit of ultramarine, I should get a few really interesting tones. I'm having to do it in dots, but I'm also trying to lean on my own arm so I don't cover my arm in paint. Oh, look at me, I'm a failure. I've gone over my... Actually, no, I didn't start till 10 past. That's good. I'm not a failure just yet. I've got a few more minutes to become one. Dub, dub, dub. Dab, dab, dab. Dib, dib, dib. Lupins. Do any of you have any lupins in your gardens? No, have they? I imagine you've got a nice garden, Robert. I've got a 5-foot yard with overgrown potato plants. That's how exciting mine is. My carrots have failed. My leeks have failed. I've had a few broad beans, which is good.
I'm growing weeds in the rusty satellite dish.
Yeah, the broad beans are good. They're doing all right. I don't know, and the tomatoes are doing all right. I think it's just me being a bit of a naive gardener, to be honest. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to water them, and I think that's all I can do. It is a good start, isn't it? But because I have everything's in pots, and I think that's my possible problem, because I haven't got gardens and lots of soil. This is cadmium yellow and white, by the way, for these mid-ground ones. We have got allotments around from my house, but I don't really think I should invest in one because I don't have the time. And I don't want to have it and then feel... Yeah, and then have a bigger garden that I haven't got the time for. I could just get bigger pots, really, I guess. That would be a start. I mean, the reason... Yeah, I've got the troughs aren't very big though that I've got. They're almost like window troughs, and I think that's probably that there's just not enough soil to do what I want. Ah, yes. I'm always off to the tip, so I'm sure I can find something. See, look how it's starting to build up. In its oh, I might add some butterflies later. I downloaded the thing to do butterfly watch because I've got a nice buddleia plant on the front garden, because you just need to put 15 minutes aside, don't you, and see what butterflies you get. This is still cadmium yellow. The reason why I've added white, and I can't remember if I've said this, is because all yellows are more transparent in acrylics, unless you're buying the artist's quality, which are super expensive. And like we've talked about with white, I'm using titanium. Probably would have been better to use zinc or mixing, but I didn't. I haven't even put any shadows on this yet. Let's go with some cadmium red. Or Damien red, as Louise pointed out that I called it this morning. Damien red. It's always good to have a bit of red in your greens. And as you can see, I'm really not being careful about how I shove it on. I'm sort of thinking about petals, but not really. And I want it to look like it might be that the greens are behind or in front, because this is the thing, when you paint flowers, what happens a lot of the time is that you spend a lot of time putting, I'm saying you as in a person, not you personally, we spend a lot of time doing, they spend a lot of time doing that, like we're doing here, but then all of the flowers are all on top of the foliage, where actually that doesn't happen, does it? You'll get leaves and plants in front. What you can do, and I'll show you one, let me stick something there, and then I can use the back end of my brush and cut through it. So I've got a dirty hand and also able to, because I've got the green underneath, you see, it looks like I've got green stuff cutting through the, gosh, it's really clever, isn't it? I'm wasted here.
Marvellous.
Where else would I go? Probably to the beach. Climb a mountain or something. Maybe that's enough red, because we've got the purple, pink loopy things there as well. And time is just running away with me today. Run away with me. Who was that? It is. So I'm doing well, aren't I? Thanks, Chris. I'm trying to think of, there are some thinner yellowy flowers behind those poppies. They're not lupins, are they? What are they?
Where?
To this section here. They're the same colour, but they're really thin, spindly ones. They're sort of like that. I really am rubbish at flowers. I don't know what these are, but we'll put them in because they're adding something to it. Like a bit of yellow. Yeah, the red ones are poppies, but right to the right of the poppies, in the distance of these, behind the poppies, are some really spindly yellow sticks, and I don't know what that is, but I'm putting them in because it adds to the excitement. I use the word excitement loosely, but you know, I do get excited about painting.
Welsh poppy there. The yellow one, isn't it? The Welsh poppy.
Well, it is, isn't it? Otherwise I'd have an awful job. Imagine if I hated painting. That would be funny. Right. Now I think I'm going to go with carmine, a little bit of cadmium yellow, and white. I love this abstract acrylic carmine. The only issue is it's really transparent, so I've got too much yellow in that. Or not enough white. What I'll do with these foreground ones is I'll do it as is, and then I might add a bit of extra pink and white just to give it a few bits of highlight. So I'm doing it in dabs. Oh no, Nick, your laptop's... Do you know what? There's some big updates at the moment on Windows, and it's quite frustrating. It's annoying. I never forget. I ended up. Were you at the talk when I had that issue at Fenny Compton WI, Anne and Chris? And I ended up, yeah. And what basically, I got my laptop all set up. I got my my talk all set up. I was doing World War War Artists, wasn't it? It was a talk on war artists for Fenny Compton WI. And as I turned the laptop on to give the talk, it decided to do a mammoth update. I was absolutely mortified. So I had to I couldn't use the PowerPoint presentation because obviously it was just updating and updating and updating. I think it took about half an hour. So I had to carry on giving the talk without any pictures, which for an art history talk is quite hard. But yeah, I got it in the end, and then everyone could see what I was talking about, so that was fine. But yeah, it was. So I learned my lesson after that one, that I checked for updates. So these are quite, obviously they're foreground loopings, so I'm going to put them in a little bit bigger. But then if I go in with some white and carmine on its own, nice candy floss colour, I can just add. Not ideal while this is wet, but as I say, give that a hint, and then I'll do something shadowish, but I don't want to do, again, I don't want to go over the top with shadow, but I do want to do something with that gate, so there's a bit of shadow on the ground, and I'll do that with some purple. Purple. I don't even sound Black Country when I say purple. How do posh people say purple? And you speak nicely. How do you say purple? Purple. Purple. Okay. Purple. Is it puce in Welsh, Robert? Puce, because there's a funny pub in where is it? Portmaddock, and it's called the Puce the Muse. Puce Muse. Right, so let's do a bit of green on that. You're all saying purple now, aren't you? I bet at home. Purple. This is more lemon, yellow, and ultramarine, just to do a few more vibrant, sun-kissed sections. Such a pretty picture. I think this would be really tricky to do in watercolour though, wouldn't it? Lots of masking fluid and all manner of stuff really to make it work. So I mean, people say to me, they do say, You know, what do you know? You know, what medium do you decide to do things in? And certain pictures, I think, do lend themselves to other mediums, because just because of the time it takes to actually do some of the things, that I'll go, actually this would be better in acrylics. Or I mean, you could do this in pastels. This would work in pastels on a slate grey paper, or even a green colour. Yeah, gouache would work really nicely on black watercolour paper, because then you'd just be putting a few extra bits on. So yeah, there are certain things that I'll look and I go, no, I could do it in watercolour, but it would take me months. That's all right. So you can see I haven't, apart from lemon yellow, I haven't used tons of colour. Let me mix. I'm going to stick with this little thin brush now and do a runny purple and cadmium red, ultramarine and cadmium red purple rather, shadow colour. I am going to shade that wall down a little bit with this purple. So I'm going to make a really thin glaze. Cadmium red and ultramarine. Yeah, so it makes more of an aubergine colour. Crimson might make it, it might just be a bit too vibrant. Now I need to test not runny enough. There we go. So I'm just sort of doing the bottom and right of some of the stones. I don't know if that's a bit too red. Let's go with a bit more blue. I prefer the purple shadows to be slightly more blue. So it dulls things down beautifully. Maybe down here this can be all dark. And again, the shadow is kind of crucial. Which I'm doing in a different way to the picture. For 2 days now, every time I put the radio on, it's the Godfather theme tune comes on. I don't know whether it's a sign and I need to start putting some kitchen roll in my cheeks. Speak softly. It's a lovely song though, isn't it? Apparently, it was for another film. It was used in a lesser known Italian film, and it took them ages to get the rights for it for The Godfather. Ooh, that's come out quite nicely. With a bit of purple, a bit of purple on the grass, just so we've got some differentiation. Maybe a little, got a bit of red in there, just in little dots in the lupins in the foreground. So if some of your greens are standing out too much, you can even use this purple glaze over the top of them to tone it down a little bit or push things back. There's so much you can do if you've got the time to invest in a painting like this. But equally, you can leave it fairly loose and light. I haven't put any centres in these poppies either, have I? I could do that with just some neat ultramarine in some of them. Again, not going too mad. Ultramarine's quite good because when it goes on the red, it doesn't look ultramarine. and it keeps things a bit warmer. So it is a complicated image, but you can see how by putting those blocks of darks in first, it's made life so much easier for us. I haven't needed that big brush, have I? Because it's sort of given us those darks straight away. Actually, I might use a few ultramarine blobs on that looping, since I've got the paint. Ultramarine and white. There is literally such a lot that can be done. So it's all down to your enthusiasm and time. You could even do a thin white glaze on some of the background branches, so they're in areas of light. But this is all stuff you can not bother with, but I think it helps. It helps. It's all about contrast, isn't it? Well, we talk about contrast a lot. Tap with my fingers. Don't stand out too much. Maybe I can lighten that gate just a fraction. In places. I think I'm going to call that done. Obviously I'll post a picture of it up afterwards, so you can see, but yeah, we've got a nice depth. So by having the distant loopings in the background and having the foreground loopings bigger and slightly more detailed, it's all very loose in terms of tone and colour, but it's worked quite well. I'm quite chuffed with it, which isn't bad. So next Monday you have sunset with tree silhouettes in watercolour. That'd be some nice wet in wets for that. You'll definitely need some Payne's Grey. This evening is watercolour class, and it's a ramble on the Thames Path. If you fancy a ramble on the Thames Path, you can do that, but Friday afternoon is, you'll be doing that in 12 weeks time. There is no acrylic class this week. Tuesday evening is a lavender field at sunset in pencil. Wednesday afternoon is a blue tit on a tap in pencil. Thursday morning is trees with a knife in acrylics. Thursday afternoon is a peacock butterfly. Friday afternoon is vibrant reds and green poppies. Those of you that did it on a Monday would know how lovely that one is. And then Saturday is a free paint along class on the shop page, and it's a moon gazing hare in watercolour. I haven't checked for a while. Let me see how many people were interested in that, because I find that interesting. Let's have a look, because I haven't paid to post to do an advert on that. 253 going or interested. So if they all join, that's going to be a nice busy lesson for me on Monday, and it's a moon gazing hare in water on Saturday, a moon gazing hare in watercolour. So thank you so much for your company today. I look forward to seeing what you create when you get round to creating it. No pressure, but I expect it in the next 5 minutes. And I look forward to seeing it, and I'm sure I'll speak to many of you during the week. So thank you very much for your company. Take care. Bye bye everyone. Bye. Yeah, see you Wednesday. Bye.